How are you? You okay?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. I've been partying a lot lately,
Okay.
going to clubs and bars and stuff, my birthday's coming up, my 26th birthday's coming up in what, 18 days, so like, just living life.
Nice, nice. It's Moises, isn't it? Pronouncing
Y
it right?
yes, my name is Moises Encarnacion.
Oh,
Yep,
brilliant. I love that name. I've never come across it before. It's a really nice
appreciate
name.
it. It's Mexican.
Would you be able to give me a bit of background about yourself? Maybe how you started out in life and then how you ended up getting to where you are right now?
Yeah, of course. So, obviously, my name is Moises. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. Uh, and then I moved out to the suburbs of Chicago when I was 4 years old. Then some happened with my parents where they got split, a divorce, some situation that led me into a point where like of making music
Yeah.
to escape from that reality. Because at the time, I mean, you're a kid, you don't really understand much, but you know that there's a lot of stuff going on, like arguments and whatever. And so, like my runaway or my escape was to basically, like write poetry and just write and write. And at the time, I didn't really understand it, but I knew that that's the way I was able to get away from everything.
Right.
So I
Where
kept doing.
what sorry, to interrupt there, but where when you look back at that poetry that you did as a young child, um, can you see how you were feeling there through what you came out with?
Um, like it was more of like I wasn't writing what was going on.
Ah, okay.
I didn't understand it, but like it was more of like using it as like love poetry, I guess you could say it. Like
Okay.
oh, roses are red by Elizabeth. I mean, yeah, keep in mind I'm like 6 years old too, so it's like there's
Hey,
I
if
was,
I go back and look at some of the stuff I wrote when I was about 8, yeah, I would feel a bit embarrassed. But no, love songs sound very mature actually.
yeah, for sure. So I don't know what I knew that I was writing stuff, just not like those things because again like I didn't really understand what was going on. It was just like a way to get out of it mentally.
Right.
So I kept writing and kept writing, and it was just stuff that I never released. Obviously I was too young to understand what was going on. And eventually in middle school I hit a place where like I was doing like cover songs.
All right.
And we're talking about the time where like Justin Bieber just came out with As Long as You Love Me and like Boyfriend and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I'm like a big fan of Justin Bieber. So I was like singing him and cover songs. And
Nice.
like I'm a guy, so like I'd be getting bullied in middle school. Like people would bully me for that. They'd be like, "Oh, you like Justin Bieber?" I'm like, he's not that bad, but I mean the music videos were cringy too, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, were the girls even bullying you? Because I imagine that would have been all right with the ladies, right?
I mean, the girls they thought it was funny because I mean, like at this point, like I was still writing poetry, and I
Yeah.
knew that music is what I like. I really like doing, but I cannot sing for like I cannot sing at all.
Right.
So when I was doing these cover songs, like you can definitely hear that this guy was struggling out here. Like the vocals just were not there.
Fair enough. So what happened after that then as you grew older?
So at this point in time, when you're in middle school, you're getting bullied. I'm not sure how the education system's over there, but here in this country, like once you reach middle school status, like literally you just get bullied by people. It's like really, really sad and unfortunate. So at
Yeah.
this point, I was bullied because I was making music. Obviously I wasn't good, and that's fair. But I had people where they would be like, "Oh, like like just stop. You're not good at it. You're not good at it. Like." Don't do this, like whatever, like really, really hatred comments. And I was just a kid having fun. I really enjoyed doing it. The best part of it was like figuring out how to create like lyrical rhymes, like oh you got like words like oh I feel divine and I feel so high. I fell in love with your eyes, like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
um I just love writing poetry at this point, but it was more like how can I rhyme with the next stanza? and how can I make it work?
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to understand how it works. And so I started high school and I released my first album, which was called Struggles. Yeah, it was called Struggles. And I'm not there yet. Like I suck still. Like I'm just not there yet. But I was so excited because it was like my first EP. I'm like, yo, like look at me. I'm finally releasing something. Uh, I even like did CDs and stuff like that for it, and I was giving it out to people in the bus in high
Oh,
school.
that's cool. That is
Yeah.
cool.
And honestly, I wish I still had. I mean, I have a copy, but it's like I never took good care of the CDs, so like they're really scratched.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those moments where it's like looking back, I wish I did save a copy for myself and like really, really did save it because even though it wasn't good, it's like the beginning of where I started at this
Yeah, man.
point.
That's a
So
history.
yeah, and so freshman year, sophomore year, then we were a junior year, and at this point, like now I'm taking music more serious. I released a song called what was it? What's it called? Man, I have it chatted in my chest too. Um, Lost Love. It was called Lost Love. And this one was the first time that I ever performed in front of like an audience in school.
Yeah.
And the video's on my YouTube channel, but the fact that when I was doing that in front of an audience and people were just clapping, like creating like a beat for me while I was like sharing this song, that's when I was like, okay, this is it. I finally reached a status where like people actually starting to enjoy my music. People are starting to enjoy what I like to
Yeah.
do. And so now I'm starting to take it serious, and this is just the writing portion. I'm trying to figure out my style. So 2020 came up. Oh no, 2019 came up, and this is pre-pandemic too.
Yeah.
Uh, at this point, I was like doing like rap groups. I was in a rap group with a bunch of friends, and one of them, his name is Sean Adams, and he goes by the name of Anubis. Um, I respect the guy. He was the one that taught me how to rap. And at this time, we were booking hotel rooms around Chicago and like doing rap sessions and crazy parties and whatever. We don't talk about it, but just crazy stuff going on. And at this point in time, I was doing a lot of the audio engineering, but because I was taking music, like the writing portion, much more serious than the engineering, like I was just not good at the engineering portion. Like I could like record you. I would throw like a little EQ and compression, but I didn't know what I was doing, to be
Yeah.
honest. I just knew how to record. And so at that point, my lyrical mindset, it's starting to get way better. And like now I'm starting to catch the beats, starting to catch the rhythm. I'm starting to get better at flows and stuff like this, like structures. But now I feel unsatisfied because I would go to like sometimes I would go to recording studios as well. And the vision for me just wasn't there. I was like, okay, like it sounds good, but it's for some reason I feel like something was missing.
Yeah.
So I then took it upon myself to go to Elgin Community College, 15-minute, 20-minute drive from my house here in like in the suburbs of Chicago. And I ended up getting like a music production degree where like I learned how to like record, mix, master. It's not professional stuff, but it gets you started somewhere, you know? And because of that, I was able to like learn how to do like okay, like maybe my vocals are a little too high, maybe drop it attenuate it by like 2 3 decibels, you know, like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I can talk audio for days. And so at this point, I had released, this is 2023. I released an album called Still Broken. And I want to say that at this point in time, it's one of my most successful albums by far at that
Nice.
time because I had a song, Fallen in Love. It's a slow ballad song, but just basically in that song, I just talk about a person that is like, hey, like, we're not together anymore, but you're my Juliet and I'm your Romeo. And how can I live a life without you when you're like the seed that is inside me and you're growing like a flower, but like, you know, like you're just not in my life anymore. So like
Mhm.
sometimes I'd be driving down your street with my headlights off. I don't want you to know that I'm down your street. And like I think about us and I think about our memories. And so like the fact that I was able to do that now, like write an actual story and like be like, okay, like now I can call myself a rapper. That's like the most like best part like of this album from Still Broken. And I had a bunch of hits too. I had like Head High. A lot of people love that song. Every time I go to like a party, someone's playing that song and I'm just standing there like, bro, this is so awkward. Like I don't like this. But the fact that they play it is like pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so now that we're reaching to the point of like 2024, uh 2020, the end of 2023, sorry, let me go back. So the end of 2023, there was like this unfortunate situation where like I was in a relationship with someone for like 3 years at this point, and some stuff happened, personal stuff,
Yeah.
and it sucked because I really, really, really love this person, etc. But this one situation that had happened had led me to a decision of like, okay, like I don't know if I want to be with this person, and I don't see myself having a future with this person because they were making decisions on their own, and I wasn't
Mhm.
part of those decisions. And like, if you kind of think about it, like when you want to get married with someone, you want to be able to have like a say in things. Obviously, you're not going to take control of anything because it's 50-50. But like you buy a house, you got to make the decision together, right? You sell
Yeah.
a house, you got to make those decisions together. And in this relationship, everything was perfect except for the communication and the decision making.
Right.
So I felt a void, and I wanted to kept touching the subject of like I wanted to talk about it with this person, but this person just never wanted to hear it. And so I started to feel like out of place, and like sometimes I, be like, okay, do I see myself here? It was weird.
Yeah.
Um, because after 3 years, like I start feeling these things, and it's just like, whoa. So, so we're talking about December. I break up with this person in, I think, end of January, and at this point, I am not writing retrograde. Like an album is not in my mind. This is 2024. I just released Still Broken on 2023 in the summer. So like I was not on album mode, like
Yeah.
trust. So like I was just going through these phases, and there's this one girl that I had met, weird timing, wrong timing, and at this point she was just like understanding. She was there for me, made me feel comfort, and like it was just bad timing. And it led me to make some decisions that I shouldn't have done. Like I didn't cheat or anything, like it was just like mutual friendship at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's just so complicated to explain it.
You don't
And
have to if you're not comfortable. It's
yeah,
good.
no, it's just so complicated because like it's not that I'm not comfortable. It's just like it's hard to find the right words
Right.
without like something. I know my friends and like I know people, my fans and whatever. They're gonna watch this video or hear this interview, right? And if I say the wrong things, it's just like, damn, like no, that's not what I meant to say. Anyhow, yeah, so that happened, and this girl, for some reason, was in my mind 24/7, and I'm not with the 3 year relationship anymore at this point.
Yeah.
She was in my mind 24/7 because she was there for me through my darkest hour, and it was just like I wrote "Feeling You" in like 2 days. Well, like 2 hours, but it was separate days.
Yeah.
I wrote the verse in like half an hour. I found like all these beats a lot of the beats that are in the album are on. I found them on YouTube. Released them out, etc. Um, Found the beat, started writing the first verse on the first day, and the second day I wrote the second verse, and it was just so fast. It just happened so fast. And this is like I'm still in college, and I don't know how college is over there, but in like colleges here, we have clubs, and we have this thing where like there's cubicles that separate each club. And so like when I would see this girl, she'd be like in the cubicles, like doing her thing, like helping out her club because she was like like a really important person in her club.
Right.
And when I the first bar that I thought of was I want you to know that you're beautiful. If they say otherwise, it's disputable. You're making my tummy feel butterflies. Can't go anywhere near your cubicle. And I was just like, yo, yes. Yes. Yeah, and then out of nowhere, I just started writing songs. This girl was just like in my head, and I just kept on writing and writing. And
So is this whole like project inspired from that kind of one moment and it kind of blossomed from there?
yes, so at this time, I was still healing from my last relationship. Like I was still like I was trying to run away from the situation, and I just didn't. I mishandled everything wrong.
Right.
Um, but I was just so shocked with the decision that she had made that I was just like trying to figure it out. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was lost and confused myself.
Yeah.
Um, so I was making poor decisions, and so I like this girl, but in the back of my head, I was always like, do I really like this girl, or is it because she's being there for me? And like,
And you're in
it
an emotional place at the moment,
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of
And
thing. Yeah.
so I wrote "Feeling You," released it on February 14th for Valentine's Day because it was supposed to be like a love song.
Oh.
And people at that point, a lot of people really liked it. And I was just like, oh, okay, like, all right, like this is it. This is like some expectations that I've never felt before. Like
Yeah.
just like people just like saying this is a really, really great song. Like I can't stop listening to it. And I'm just like, thank you. Like I appreciate it. And that's when people started asking for more. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm not in album mode though. I just got out of an album. Like I can't write.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I wrote Feeling You, and then the next song I wrote was Runaway.
Yeah.
And at this time, when I was writing, I wrote Feeling You in February, and I wrote Runaway in late March. Um, I was listening to a lot of alternative music at the time too, like a lot of like the Marias, can't think of the Strokes, like a
Okay.
lot of these bands. So that's when I was like, okay, like I want to try something new. I want to experiment. Let me go ahead and like get my guitar, my piano. I'm not really good at this stuff, but I still did it. Recorded my chord progressions, etc. Like Runaway is actually a song that I made myself full from scratch, top
Nice.
from top to the bottom or whatever you want to say it. But that one was self-made, and when I released it, people really enjoyed it, and I was just like, okay. But at this time, things were just going south with this girl, the new girl. Um, it was just like a situation where like I was just misreading the whole thing. And again, like I said earlier, like I wasn't sure if I liked her. Like I knew I felt something, but
Mm.
in the back of my head I was just like, I don't know, things just doesn't feel right. But this girl definitely did not like me. She was just being a really, really kind-hearted person, being there for someone. And
Right.
I just read the whole situation. So I was just trying to figure it out, and I went into an emotional wreck. Um, so that's when I started writing Leo. I started writing Space, the same like this like three songs in the same day. It was Leo, Space. Um, what was the other song? And then Pluto in Aquarius. Those songs I wrote in the same day. I feel like I'm
This,
missing it.
this actually makes loads more sense to me now after having reacted to it and reviewed it. Um, because I said in my review, like it feels like we've got two different feelings going on.
Yeah,
And that's it, isn't it? You've got this kind of like more hopeful, like feeling you, excitement about maybe new things or feeling comfort in someone. And then you've also got the opposite. You know, it starts with Pluto and Aquarius, which feels quite dark lyrically.
yeah,
And you're just like, damn, what happened to you? And then it kind of goes a bit more happy again. You're like, okay, no, no, this guy's fine. And then later on, you're like, oh wait, no, this guy's not fine again. What's going on here? And it does feel like you said, you did experimental kind of work with it, and you can definitely feel that. And things after hearing your story, um, things are making a lot more sense. Even the album art is kind of making a lot more sense. You've got two planets
Yeah.
and someone traveling almost between them now. Are those that's like the two like relationships, perhaps? I can see a lot more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wrote those three songs in one day. I was just a mess. I had more unreleased. I have more unreleased songs that I might drop in my new album sometime this year.
Right.
Uh, but when I was doing like the decision making at this point, I was just like, okay, they don't fit in the album, those songs. And so, yeah, so May came up and I went back to my ex-girlfriend, the 3 year, because she kept on trying to look for me. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? Like, if she's looking for me, she actually wants to work things out. Let's make it work. And so I gave her that chance, even though I promised myself I would never do something like that. Because I was in a 5 year relationship before that, toxic, kept going back. My friends said, "Hey, don't do it," and I just kept running back. Because I'm like, I love to love people. It's like, like it just sucks, So I gave her a chance, and long story short, with that, it didn't work out. I ended up getting my heart broken.
Right.
But at this point, the new girl, I was just starting to see her more as a friend now, and like I'm starting to understand that hey, like she's a friend, like she's just there for me. Like I didn't mean to mess things up by feeling a certain way and confusing it as something that it wasn't. So towards the end, I felt like I had the album, like everything was there. I had Pluto and Aquarius, I had Runaway, uh we got songs like Feeling You, Space, Jupiter, the Jupiter Interlude,
Yeah.
Retrograde, and sorry, I can't talk. Um, but now I felt like I was missing two songs. So I hit up my friend Jade, and I was like, hey, like I have this song called City Girl, and I have this other song called Friend Zone, and I need you to like figure out a chorus within 30 minutes because I'm picking you up and we're gonna go to the studio so we can record your vocals. She's like,
No.
yeah, I got you. And then I kid you not, picked her up and she's like, I'm ready. And I'm like, what? Like, wait, you really did it in 30 minutes? Went to the studio, jotted down, got it down, recorded it, and then it was just like it came out the way it did, City Girl and
Friend
Friend.
zone. I
Yeah.
love stuff like that though, where things just happen.
Yeah,
It's so much. It feels really exciting when it just happens like that. You've
for
got a
sure.
few collaborations on the project. You just spoke about Jade. The other ones then you got, is it Vibiana?
Viviana. Yeah.
Viviana is one of them, and you got Michelle Rene as well.
Yeah. So
No Xander.
no Xander. That's so all these people are all my friends. Viviana, I met her through this app called Vamper. It's like a dating app, but more for like musicians. Like it's like Tinder, but for musicians. And
Oh,
like you
that's awesome. I need that. Cool.
yeah, so you go through like the discog like you go through like the profiles and it says, "Oh, hey, I'm a musician, like I do this and this and that." And you can either swipe right if you want to work with them or swipe left if you're just not interested in working with them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I met Viviana through there.
Yeah.
Uh, no Xander is my friend Alex. We go way back, 2019 from Elgin Community College. Jade, me and her, we actually go way back too. We've known each other for like I think 6 years now. Um, yeah, I think that's all the features I've had, right? Just three of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Um, but let me tell you the decision making and the like the track list and the album and why it came the way it did.
Cool.
I never really, like I said, I was never on album mode, and all those songs I wrote them within 6 months. So
Yeah, because
like
it came out in August, didn't it? And you started February,
I
you said?
started in February,
Yeah.
I finished in late July, but it didn't come out in August because the girl's birthday is in August. And I wanted to do this thing where like I was like, hey, like I just dropped an album on your birthday. This is your album, keep it.
Yeah.
But I accidentally effed up and I her birthday was August 13 or August
No.
12. August 12th, and my album dropped on August 8th, bro. Like I was
Oh.
just like, no. It was the craziest. The way I found out was so crazy. I went to bed on August 7th, woke up on August 8th on a Tuesday morning, or I think it was Tuesday morning. And then my friends are like texting me like, "Yo, like your album is cool. Like we really enjoy it." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" So I opened Apple Music right away and it's like right there and I'm just like I used like no fucking way, bro. Like this album was not supposed to release. But the fact that I didn't even do any promo and people were just listening to it, it's just insane. Like
Oh, that's
insane.
cool. That is cool.
So, the decision making in the album was like you said, Pluto and Aquarius is so dark, okay?
Yeah.
Pluto and Aquarius, the story behind that song is um suicide is on my mind, suicide is on my mind, and that's because I just got enough of this 3-year relationship and I'm so broken.
Right.
Like I don't know what to do. So in the talking voicemail, that's one of my closest friends. He's basically calling me, telling me, like checking up on me, and he just want to make sure that I'm okay because he knew that I was going through a dark time at this time. Like I
Yeah.
just sometimes I would just look at the sky, I look at the stars, and I'd be like, do I even belong here? Is this the right universe? It was like really, really, really dark.
Yeah.
So, and then just remember that. So at the same time, my friend, so I have a friend named Selena. She's like really like into astrology a lot, like oh like you're a Leo, you're a Pisces, etc. So she was telling me that we were in Jupiter, Pluto and Aquarius, and this is February, um, January, late January, and I'm like, okay, that's so cool. And I searched it up, and like apparently like everybody's reactions and feelings was way off because of the alignment with the planet um and how it is with its moon. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, like, it's like really cool like stuff to learn about. Like I don't really take it that serious, but it's just like really like cool things to know.
Yeah.
Because I've always enjoyed looking at the stars and everything.
It definitely
So,
created a good kind of vibe for the album. The
mhm,
sound, especially in the first like few tracks and some towards like "You Don't Love Me" at the end, they definitely have that feel.
mhm. Yeah, like very spacious, yeah.
Mm.
So when I wrote Pluto and Aquarius, it just it was just there for me. I was like, okay, this is the first track. Second track is Runaway now. And ironically, I wrote Runaway because at the time my friend, she also was going through like this love triangle situation. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm gonna just say it. Okay. So she was going through some love triangle situation, and I was looking at that and I was like observing that a lot of that, and
Yeah,
that inspired me a lot to write it. And when I was planning out the album, I'm like, oh, okay, like this also like makes sense in my situation because I was able to relate to it too.
yeah,
Um, at the time I was falling, uh, you're running away from my problems. You don't love me. Like I'm over here trying to make things work, but you're just running away. And so that just made sense to place it on the second track. And then we got the third track, which is Friend Zone. The fact that that was the last song that we worked in the studio 5 days before the album came out. But the fact, like, it's just crazy how I ended up in the third track. It's just so weird how it works. And
yeah,
so, is it the third track?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I can't for some reason my Apple Music won't open, so I'm just like literally just eyeballing everything.
I've got it
Um,
here.
oh yeah, so like Fredzone came up, and that it was so weird. It made so much sense because at the time I'm like trying to convince this new girl, hey, like I like you, but you keep friend zoning me, and it's just like let's make it work. Like I'm not a bad guy. Like I give you flowers, I will open the door for you, stuff like that, like really gentleman like stuff.
Yeah,
And I also had to keep in mind that to become known in the industry, you have to make hits like bops, like really like okay, groovy tracks.
Yeah.
So I also had to keep that in mind while writing songs. And so Friend Zone was one of those tracks where I was just like, okay, like not sad. It's fun to listen to. Like I got
Yeah.
bars. Like I was shooting my shot in the studio. Like I don't know what I was saying in there, but oh, and then now you got the next song. After being friend zoned, I am now writing feeling you. Like, oh, okay, like I'm still friend zoned, but I still like I'm still really feeling you. Like I want you to like me and feel the same way that I feel for you. But if you listen to the second verse of feeling you, I start to say, okay, maybe you don't feel the same. Maybe this is just not how, like, we're just not meant to be together. And maybe, I shouldn't look at things the way that I think it is.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I transitioned from feeling you into what was the next track?
God's promise.
Man, God's Promise.
I got you.
So here in God's Promise, that song I actually wrote. Yeah, so God's Promise. The girl's name, I'm not gonna say her name, but the girl's name, the meaning of her name was God's Promise. And I wanted to do something unique and make it so obvious that the album was about her. So I was like, hey, like next song is gonna be God's Promise. And then I threw in a bar where I say, like the meaning of your name, your God's Promise, like
Yeah.
uh so at this point it's just like in this song, I'm like starting to admit, like, this is how I feel for you. You're like, you're in Texas right now. You're doing some stuff with family over there. And I just feel like, like I'm missing you. But because you're so far away, we haven't like seen each other, like we haven't talked. I'm starting to reflect into things and start to realize that, hey, I think we're just friends at
Yeah.
this point. Like, I'm starting to accept that we're just friends. Um, but it's sad, like it's like okay, like I misread the whole situation, so it sucks, but at the same time I understand, I rather be friends than to be in a relationship and then lose that connection that we had in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, so after God's Promise, it's Pink Roses, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, Pink Roses. The first half of the song, I wrote it for a friend. Her name is Sherlan. One of the greatest friends I've ever had. Unfortunately, we're not friends anymore, and that's because I messed up our friendship. Um, Long story short, I am just a really flirty person, and sometimes I just don't know when to stop. So in that song, half of that first song is me apologizing to her and saying like, "Hey, like I want you to know that you're my friend and you'll always be my friend no matter what, like I will always be there for you. I'm grateful for the things that we've done together as friends, etc." And like, hopefully she feels the same way.
Yeah.
And I even threw a jab at her where I said like coral. I think it was the first sentence, the first stanza in the verse. I say something with coral, and coral is actually her middle name. Red roses, pink corals. So like
Yeah.
she likes pink. She like the last time we hanged out, I gave her pink flowers, pink roses. So it was a lot of like metaphors
Yeah.
part that people, new listeners would probably listen to and be like, what is he even saying? Um, and then the second half of the song was now I'm going back to the girl that was there for me, and I'm like, hey, like you're my friend. We got Polaroids together. Like I'm never gonna like get rid of those Polaroids. Like I hope that you're doing fine, and I hope you find someone that can treat you well. Because at this time, also during the same time, she was going through a heartbreak as well. She was dealing with some issues, and she was sad. So in a way, we were kind of just like being there for each other.
Yeah.
But I was in the wrong. So I was also writing in a perspective of like being there for her and like writing the album and like, hey, like this is for you to like listen to and heal as well.
Mm.
So then the next song is Jupiter
Yep.
Interlude, right?
That's the one.
And that song, I knew that I had to connect back to Runaway and Pluto and Aquarius
Yeah.
because like I start off like with such like synthesizers 80s, like
Yes.
space, and then all of a sudden I go into rapping and like I knew that people would get like thrown off.
I tell you what, it does transition well to the rap, like surprisingly well, to the
With
point
the
where
friends.
when you get back to Jupiter retrograde, you're like, oh yeah, this is what we started at.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what I was kind of scared of when I was like organizing the album. I was like I was just scared. I was like, is this even gonna work?
Yeah.
So, yeah, in that song, I did the synth. I had like this chord progression that I've always liked, that I've had saved somewhere, but I never released it, and so I went back to it. And then when I was watching the interview, the you reviewing the album, you said, "Is that must be Jupiter in the background?" It is. I went on YouTube and I searched up Jupiter sounds, downloaded the best one, and then I put it on the track.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I think it was from NASA as well. So I hope they don't sue me.
Yeah.
So at this point in the album, I also kind of like, since it's an interlude, I wanted people to like take a break from the vocals, take a break from the bars, the storyline, and kind of just reflect to everything that I had just said.
Yeah.
Because the first half of the album, you start off with like like I'm depressed, and all of a sudden I progress to like, okay, like this girl I really like, I'm pursuing, and all of a sudden in the middle, it's like like at the end of like Pink Roses, I'm like now I'm starting to see that we're just friends and nothing more than that. So entering into Jupiter interlude, in Jupiter retrograde interlude, I wanted people to reflect, think about what I had just said, think about the storyline, and then at the end of Jupiter retrograde, I say how like it's it's easy to move on, but it's hard to like it's hard to forget somebody's face. You cannot replace, like you can replace them, but you can never forget someone's face. Like that person's face will always be there, you know?
Yeah.
And I had this I that was a conversation from like 2019. It wasn't recent. So I had to put it in there because I wanted people to remember, and I wanted people to like be like, oh, like tie that song back to the beginning of the song where I say I'm suicide is on my mind because of this one girl, and tie it up and be like, okay, like is he still thinking about that one girl,
Yeah.
the first girl?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in Jupiter retrograde interlude, going into space. Space is also one of the songs that I wrote at the same time that I was writing Leo.
Right.
That song, I was, I was just at that point I was just like so confused and so lost. Um, so I was just basically saying in that song like, hey, like to the new girl still, you're just different. You're just a different type of like person I've never met.
Yeah.
And for some reason I still like you and I can't get you out of my head, even though I accepted the fact that we're friends. So even though you're like you live like 20 minutes from me, to me it feels like you're somewhere out in space. And so I have to fly a rocket ship and look for you somewhere out in space. And I took my telescope and I'm looking for you with my telescope, and
Nice imagery.
yeah, I just can't find you. And at the time, um, she had asked that she needed some space. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that idea, the concept was she needs space. So she must be somewhere out in space. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was like some crazy, like,
No, it's nice imagery. It's
yeah.
yeah, a good metaphor to use.
So that song happened, and then Leo, the girl she was born in August, so she's considered a Leo, and I'm a Pisces because my birth is coming up.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still sad, and I still know that we're just friends. So I say like, you were there for me but I'm going through this heartbreak, and this heartbreak feels like, it sucks because think about it like you're being sad and you're heartbroken and you want to see this person, but you can't because your car's broken.
Mhm.
That's how it felt like you're stuck.
Yeah.
My car wasn't broken, but it was just like a way of like, oh, like, damn, like I know that feeling where you really like someone and you just can't look for them because they don't want to see you or whatever the situation is.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like feeling helpless, broken
that
down in the car, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And so in that song, I go back. I don't really reference my ex, but I do, and I say it in a way where I say, um, let me bring up my lyrics. Why did I never think of that?
That's a good point.
Um, doesn't come up either. So I say, I'm not even gonna worry too much about it, but I basically say, you were there for me during my darkest times. Um, Even after I was a mess because the person I was with, she did something. And if you listen back to the song, you will catch it,
Yeah.
but you gotta like really think hard for it. Like only certain people would know what it is.
Right.
Um,
But those very close to you would know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I ended up with Viviana. She ended the song with her vocals, and that was it.
Yeah.
City Girl. Now we're in late June or mid July, and that I, the girl that I wrote the album for, she always wanted to live in a city. And so at this point, we both graduated from our community college, and we're both going to the city to study because we're both going to. I go to Columbia College, Chicago, in the city, and she goes to University of Illinois in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so uh I knew that she had a dream that she wanted to live in the city and she wanted to experience it. And at this point, I think she was starting to. And so I took the train to the city. And when I was on the train, the idea just came up, and I was just like, "Oh, okay. I'm taking the train to the city. Um, and what's the first thing that comes into my mind? Like she's as beautiful as the city, etc." I also wrote that because my dad, he was meeting with someone, like this one girl or female. I should use the proper words. She was meeting up with a female, and he looked like he was like in love, and so I also felt inspired by that moment as well.
Right.
Um, so yeah, there's just a lot of inspirations behind that song, but
Nice.
most of it was because of the girl, because now she's a city girl and she lives in the city. And in the end of the verse, I say, you know what? Like, I know that the situation is messy, but let's just forget about it. Let's move on. I'll forget about it. I won't bring it up. We're in the same city, but we haven't even spoke. Like I can just hop on the expressway and like meet up with you in like 5 minutes. Like just say the word and I'll be there for you. And then if you're ever going through some stuff, like I'll be there for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's what happened with City Girl, and then we go back to You Don't Love Me, the last track. And
I love that one.
the the point of that track was because I was still talking to my ex at this time, but then she broke up with me.
Right.
And that song was also last second. Um, and she just happened to break my heart, and I just felt inspired to write it in the moment, and that's how I felt. Like you don't love me anymore. Like you made me feel all these things again just to tell me that you don't love me anymore. Like why are we doing this? And now it goes full circle back to the first track where I'm like feeling suicidal.
Yeah, it kind of brings it back round and kind of grounds it a bit.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but
Yeah.
I also J. Cole 2014 Forest Hill Drive, greatest, in my opinion, greatest album of all time as far as rap goes. Um,
Right.
his last song. Love, I think it's Love Yourself. I think so.
Yeah.
Um, he does that thing where like he like it's a good song, it's a good ending, and then he starts to thank everybody, and so that's the idea that I had behind it too, where I just want to be like, I want to use that inspiration like that he did,
Yeah.
and same thing for this album because at the end of the day, to me, the album meant so much to me in a personal level, where like
Yeah.
at this point, I'm not thinking of like, oh, it's gonna be successful. No, I don't care about any of that. I am just so happy that everybody knows the story that I've just experienced and like I just wanted to get it out there, you
Yeah.
know?
I like it. It's like credits, at the
Hmm.
end of a film, your thank yous. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice way to kind of end it. So yeah. Well, thank you for taking me through a tour of the album. It's really really great to pick apart the songs and understand where you're coming from,
Hmm.
in every aspect. Do you feel better now that you've got this out in the world? I know it's been a while now, probably about over half a year since its release, but do you feel like that has been helpful, or is there still something next for you, um, and you're
So,
continuing on this journey?
so for a long time, like ever since I dropped the album, I was asking myself, what next? And I had writer's block after that because, like, how can I come back from this? Like,
Yeah,
literally, what's next? And so, like, I want to give special thanks to the girl because she pulled out a version of me that I never knew existed as far as music goes, that I was able to finish an album in 6 months, not even a year after I released one album,
yeah,
and inspired me to make more. And even till this day, like I'm still like there's some verses that I started writing that go back to that girl that I still think about, like at this point I say she's a friend, yes. Um, but she was just such a good friend that definitely I think about her a lot. Um, and she still inspires me to write music. And so this next album that I'm working on, I just want to focus more on like that's the thing. Like I don't even know. Like I don't know. It's just so hard. Like it's like, damn, like I just want to make songs for the public, but at the same time, I love storytelling.
yeah.
So like I'm just trying to figure it out as I go.
So kind of halfway point between the two.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Super.
The the album cover, my one of my friends, Jared, he made it. I told him, hey, like I need you to like make a album cover of a astronaut falling down into uh Jupiter, and in my point of view, I'm the astronaut falling into Jupiter,
Mm,
and so that's
I
how
did
that
see
album
that.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The fact that you said that the two planets is basically the two relationships, I never had that in mind, but it's like it works, you know?
Yeah. And
And so,
what I bet is nice about having people listen to your projects is people take different things from it. So,
yes, yes.
maybe unpicking things that you wouldn't even think about, and you're like, oh yeah, I see it.
No, yeah, that's very true. And then when you say it, I'm like, okay, well, that's crazy because it is, but I never thought of it. Like it works, like it just works. It hits hard. Um, But yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing as far as music. I have some projects that are demos out on my Instagram. Sad Boy Moises, by the way. A lot of people are liking them, and so I'm just gonna finish those up. But as far as an album, I'm just not sure what the topic would be yet.
Right.
Um,
Take your time. You don't feel pressured. You want to do an EP or just singles, go for it.
yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
you feel is right for you is what matters. And I say this to a lot of people. Feel free to have feel free to have writer's block. It's absolutely fine to do that.
yeah,
It
for
comes and
sure.
it goes.
And I'm the type of artist that just like sometimes I can't write, and then next you notice the next day I'm like, whoa, like okay, like I just thought about a bar, like let me write it down, and it just becomes into like a bunch of stanzas, and
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes it gets scratched because it doesn't work. I don't like them, or it's just not me.
Yeah.
But some of them do end up working out.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you for speaking with me, Moises. It's been absolute pleasure listening to your story. And take care. Make sure, guys, to go and check out Retrograde. It's a really, really good experience. And I hope this interview gave you guys a background about the project. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen.